Hi guys, Sci-Fi Recapped here. Before we start, warning. Spoilers ahead. Today, I'm gonna explain a 2011 science fiction and action movie called Bombat Robo. The movie begins with a talented scientist named Dr. Vaseegaran or Dr. Vasee who is developing an android humanoid robot with his assistants. He works so hard on the project until he ignores hundreds of calls from his girlfriend, Sana. After working all day and all night, the robot development is finally finished and Dr. Vasee gives the final touches on it. The robot is able to perform simple human movements such as standing and walking. Afterwards, he transfers all necessary data to the robot, including language, arts, and much more, making the robot possess the same behavior as normal human beings. Fed up with his boyfriend not calling her back, Sana angrily goes to Vasee's laboratory, but the scientist refuses to meet her. She then walks away in tears. The assistants give the robot speech training, but the doctor finds out that they have been teaching him abusive phrases, which makes him angry and warns them. To make it even more realistic, Dr. Vasee envelops the robot with human-like skin and clothes. Finally, the scientist returns home and introduces his creation to his parents. While having lunch together, the mother decides to name the robot Chitti. She then orders the robot to put the TV on, but it throws the TV away and breaks it. Dr. Vasee realizes that his creation still lacks logical thinking skill. He trains Chitti how to drive in a crowded road where it accidentally crashes his expensive Mercedes. They eventually arrive safely at a barbershop where Chitti rapidly scans all the magazines and demands more books as he has finished reading it all. The barber even gives him a phone book, but it is still too easy for him. He manages to reveal the phone number and the name of other customers. A few moments later, Dr. Vasee approaches Sana and apologizes to her, but the woman wants to end the relationship because she thinks his boyfriend would choose machines over her. She then returns all the boring stuff and books Dr. Vasee gave her while complaining about him never being romantic. Vasee demands the woman to return the 512 kisses that he has given. Sana has no choice but to kiss him to return the favor and they end up reconciling. Meanwhile, Chitti is confronted by a police officer and he argues with him, but his statement just makes the officer confused as it claims that it has no parents and lives in an IP address. The officer asks Chitti for some money because he broke the law, but he cuts his hand instead. Not long after, Dr. Vasee and his girlfriend show up and they drive away. Sometime later, Dr. Vasee introduces Chitti at an international conference. Chitti shows off his capabilities and skills in front of the audiences. It even manages to answer all their answers effortlessly, which amazes the audiences. After the presentation, Dr. Vasee's former mentor, Dr. Bora, comes to him and he seems unhappy with Vasee's breakthrough creation. He brings Chitti for a walk while secretly asking the robot several questions, focusing on its specifications, but it refuses to answer and tells Vasee about that. He politely says that he is unwilling to spoil anything until he gets a patent. Turns out that Bora is also developing android humanoid robots, but they are not following orders and cannot function properly, which causes him to envy Vasee. One of the robots even attempts to strangle him after being scolded. Sarah takes Chitti with her to assist her in the upcoming exam. However, they are disturbed by loud noises from the neighborhood. The pair warn them to lower the volume, but the boys keep increasing the volume and challenge them instead. Chitti uses his infrared power to give them a lesson by destroying the music player. Sana continues studying, but suddenly a loud music from the local festival emerges. Chitti tries to negotiate, but they don't care, so it goes inside and simply breaks the music player. The men are furious and attempt to attack Chitti, but Chitti activates electromagnetic mode, which pulls all their weapons and every metal stuff towards it. Chitti even humiliates one of the men who still tries to attack. The pair then walks away while being praised by the local people. The next day, Chitti gives Sana a spy earphone to provide her with the exam answers. Two professors approach Chitti and ask what the robot is doing. Chitti innocently reveals that he is helping Sana in the exam. They confront Sana in the exam room, but Sana throws the transmitter away and admits she doesn't know Chitti at all. The robot is confused with the current situation as he is programmed to never lie. The professors eventually believe her and kick the robot out of the college. Sana is now clueless in the exam, but Chitti somehow sneaks into the ceiling and provides her all the answers on the paper. On the train, the gangsters from the festival confront the pair. This time they are equipped with non-metal weapons. The fight ensues, but Chitti manages to eliminate each of them effortlessly. Unfortunately, Chitti eventually runs out of the battery and gets kicked out of the train. The gangsters harass Sana who screams for help. Chitti hears this and charges himself with a cable from an electric box. Chitti returns to the train and ruthlessly beats everyone up with Chinese martial arts. They arrive home safely and Dr. Vaseegaran repairs the damage on Chitti. As time goes by, Chitti now also becomes a servant and does a lot of housework while also being trained for military purposes at the same time. At some point, Dr. Vaseegaran brings Chitti to Artificial Intelligence Research and Development or ART headquarters for evaluation. The scientist states that android humanoids like Chitti can be used in wars to minimize casualties, then asks ART to give him approval to mass-produce the robot. The board members test Chitti several logical thinking questions and it answers all of them flawlessly. The others are about to give the approval until Bora suddenly intervenes and orders Chitti a lot of exhausting commands. Chitti performs all the commands effortlessly until Bora orders it to kill Vaseegaran. The robot rushes to his creator, but Bora commands him to stop just before it stabs Vaseegaran. However, Vaseegaran gets stabbed a little bit, causing Bora to disapprove the request. He states that Chitti is not ready for military use and only can be utilized for daily routine work. The disappointed Vaseegaran and Chitti drive home when they come across a huge fire accident. Chitti immediately runs towards the burning flat and rescues the trapped people, not caring about his skin and clothes getting burned out. The hero runs back and forth to rescue the remaining trapped people until Chitti brings a woman, who was taking a bath, out of the burning flat. Unfortunately, the woman feels humiliated as everyone witnesses her naked. She runs into the street in tears and gets hit by a truck. Bora, who is watching everything from his room, immediately calls Dr. Vaseegaran and blames his robot for killing a woman. Because the video of the woman goes viral, Bora, on behalf of the Ministry of Defense, orders Vaseegaran to stop the project. The scientist states that he can add human emotions into Chitti, so Bora gives him a month to improve the robot. Dr. Vaseegaran immediately feeds the robot a lot of lessons about human emotions and he installs hormone software into it. The training continues until Chitti is struck by lightning, which causes it to malfunction. The next day, Chitti is fully repaired, but Dr. Vaseegaran is fed up with the fact that the robot is not making any progress and yells at it. Chitti surprisingly shouts back, showing that he now has emotions. It now feels sadness and even pays a visit to the woman's grave, which makes Dr. Vaseegaran extremely happy. Soon after, Sana is informed about a woman who is having labor problems and the trio rush to the hospital. Chitti offers to help, but the doctor doesn't allow it. They both argue until the doctor is convinced with Chitti's capabilities. The robot leads the operation while streaming the procedure online so others can watch his skill and kindness. The baby is eventually born in a healthy condition and everyone is celebrating. Bora arrives at the hospital and has no choice but to approve Chitti. He warns the scientist that Sana could ditch him and choose Chitti as the robot now has emotions. That evening, Chitti repeatedly rewinds the moment when Sana kissed him. On the other side, Bora secretly arranges a meeting with a terrorist who wants to take advantage of the humanoid robot's capabilities to cause chaos. The terrorist orders 100 robots and gives him the down payment. However, few months later, the terrorist almost shoots him in the head since his ordered robots haven't finished yet. The scene moves back to Dr. Vaseegaran and Chitti who buy jewelry for Sana as that day is her birthday. Chitti follows everything Vaseegaran does and he now even dares to disobey his creator. At the party, Sana is more impressed with Chitti's gift and decides to wear it, leaving Vaseegaran in jealousy. He gets insecure and randomly announces to everyone that he is going to marry her. Everyone celebrates the announcement and the jealous Chitti reacts by asking her to dance, which she agrees to. At some point, Chitti almost kisses Sana, but Vaseegaran intervenes. They go outside where Chitti admits that he loves Sana too. This statement enrages its creator, but Chitti refuses to obey any longer. However, Sana makes it clear that humans and machines cannot be together. She also adds that she loves the scientist, which makes the robot devastated and walks away. Later that night, Bora approaches Chitti and provokes the robot to join him, claiming that he knows its worth and will give an equal treatment to Chitti. The next day, Chitti undertakes the military evaluation to determine whether the robot is fit in the army. However, when being asked to throw a grenade, the robot turns the grenade into a grenade rose and mentions Sana. Chitti even starts reciting romantic poetry while imagining Sana. Everyone laughs at Chitti and walks away. Dr. Vaseegaran can't hold it anymore, thus he angrily breaks the robot apart while stating his disappointment towards the robot. Chitti insists that he didn't make any mistakes and only wants Sana. Vaseegaran eventually puts an end to the robot's life and throws his spare part away. The couple then have fun and Vaseegaran officially proposes to Sana. Meanwhile, Bora drives to the landfill to retrieve Chitti's junk. He then brings the robot to his own laboratory where Chitti repeatedly says that he loves Sana. The robot eventually agrees to give the information needed to Bora after he offers to restore the robot into his original form. While fixing the robot, Bora installs a red destructive chip into Chitti which turns the robot into a demon. Chitti awakens and is satisfied with his new look. The robot is informed that Sana and Vasee are getting married that day, so Chitti immediately rushes into the wedding hall where Chitti attempts to take Sana with her while throwing the scientist away. Chitti becomes out of control and the robot even shoots several innocent men while heading out of the hall. The police chase after him, but Chitti uses his telekinesis power to take down their motorcycles easily. Even though Chitti is outnumbered, he still manages to dominate the police with his enormous strength. The pursuit continues until the police block the road and continuously shoot Chitti. However, the robot uses the Mercedes as a shield. After cornered, Chitti activates electromagnetic mode and pulls all rifles towards him. Chitti launches a counterattack and slaughters everyone on sight. The police confront Vasee and blame him for the damage caused by the robot. He calls Chitti and concludes that its system has been corrupted, thus he commands Chitti to return to his lab, but the robot disobeys. Chitti begins to rob jewelry, perfumes, and every woman's stuff to impress Sana. The police and the military even have to team up in order to defeat Chitti. The robot also steals an oil truck, but the police manage to corner him and finally blow him up with a missile. Not long after, Dr. Vasee arrives at the crime scene, only to confirm that the parts are not Chitti's. The officer is confused as Chitti is robbing 4 places at the same time. The police and Vasee head over to Bora's laboratory where they find Bora dead. Dr. Vasee checks the CCTV footage, finding that Chitti had formed an army of robots that have exactly the same face as Chitti. Bora forbid him as he wanted to sell the robots to the terrorist. He threatened to kill Sana if Chitti disobeyed, but the clones took care of him and Chitti single-handedly executed him. After that, Chitti goes to Ard and massacres everyone there. He then alters the Ard HQ into his kingdom, fully guarded by his clones. Chitti thinks that he has successfully impressed Sana, but she feels uneasy and states that it's impossible for her to marry the robot. Unfortunately, Chitti comes up with an idea to create an artificial cell, so they both can have a baby, Robot Sapiens. On the other side, Dr. Vasee disguises as Chitti and secretly infiltrates the robot's kingdom. He eventually arrives at Sana's room where he deactivates a robot and reveals his identity to her. He cuts himself to prove that he is a human, which makes Sana relieved and hugs her. He tells Sana his plan, ordering him to distract Chitti for the next 24 hours. The plan begins and Vasee calls his team to shut down the entire city's electricity. The robot doesn't care about the incoming threat and chooses to have fun with the woman. Sana teases him for a very long time until Chitti is out of the battery. The robot becomes panicked as there is no power source. Just before his battery runs out, he finds a car and recharges using the car battery. The clones also run to the street and charge themselves. Chitti returns to his mansion and accidentally discovers human blood. The robot realizes that Vasee was there and questions Sana's loyalty. Chitti immediately gathers his entire army and orders them to spin their heads. Because he is still human, Vasee is easily spotted. When Chitti is about to strike the bullet, the military army breaks in and shoots everyone in the room. They use non-metallic weapons and flashes to blind the robots. Unfortunately, Chitti commands his clones to form a shield and then launches a counterattack. The robot gets out of the building and fights the entire army. He uses his robot clones, which can transform into several weird shapes, to wipe out everyone. Dr. Vasee manages to hack one of the robots and successfully enters the robot's system. He installs a virus that shuts down the entire robot army, but not for a long time. Chitti finds the source and immediately applies a self-destruct command to the robot. The robot army comes back online and transforms themselves into an enormous giant robot. Dr. Vasee and Sana try to flee in a van while the giant is chasing after them. The robot effortlessly destroys every military vehicle that tries to stop him. Dr. Vasee manages to locate the real Chitti and shoots him with a transmitter. He then deactivates Chitti's electromagnetic power and then pulls the robot with a huge magnet in the van. The scientist destroys the robot army and manages to remove the red chip from Chitti's body. Afterwards, Dr. Vasee is sentenced with death penalty for all the damage caused by his creation. Chitti stands up and challenges the decision. The robot provides evidence, showing that the deceased Bora is actually the mastermind of the destruction. Finally, the court concludes that Dr. Vasee is not guilty. However, they ban the usage of humanoid robots as they could turn against human and have the opportunity of being misused by terrorists. Chitti is okay with that and decides to dismantle himself. The robot apologizes to his creator and Dr. Vasee hugs him just before Chitti removes his head. The scene moves to 2030 when Chitti's head is kept in an AI museum. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.